So this Shabbat and Sunday is the month of Elul. The month of Elul, as we are all aware, is the last month of the year and the month of preparation for Judgment Day, Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah we are judged, it is written, and Yom Kippur, our fate, what's going to be handed to us for the coming year, is sealed. So in the month of Elul, we prepare for the moment of judgment. That's the basic meaning of this period. Just to remind you, historically, the month of Elul began, Rosh Chodesh Elul, which is Shabbat, began the final 40-day period, the third and final 40-day period that Moses ascended Mount Sinai. The first 40 days, which began on Shavuot and ended with the debacle of the worshipping the golden calf, followed by another 40-day period where he's attempting to elicit God's forgiveness but unsuccessful. And a third 40 days, which began Rosh Chodesh Elul and ends, of course, on Yom Kippur, days of divine grace where God forgave the Jewish people. And on Yom Kippur, he came down with a second set of tablets, and that's why it's Yom Kippur, thereafter forever. So this all begins on Shabbat, on the first day of the month of Elul, the last 40-day period of Rachamim, of compassion and forgiveness. Now, the month of Elul, unlike any other of the 11 months of the year, interestingly enough, is encoded in many verses throughout Scripture. By that I mean, you look at a verse, 4 words, 4 consecutive words in the verse, you take the first letter of each of those 4 words, combine them, and it spells the word Elul. There are many such verses, and all of them, of course, contribute to and reveal another nuance or layer to this most significant month. We don't find this with any other month, at least not to the same degree. And that's because, I think it's locked, but I'm just tied up here with the thing, if you don't mind opening the door. That's because Elul is a month of introspection and analysis, stock taking. So the very name of the month kind of beckons that, saying, yeah, he unlocked it? Okay, good. The month is saying, look, if you look critically at Scripture, you'll find me. So the month is saying, this is a month to look critically at ourselves, to examine ourselves. You can't always be stock taking. You'll never get anything done. But there is a time when you have to take stock and examine critically where we hold in life, and that's this month. So accordingly, this month is there in Scripture, waiting for us to look critically at it, as it were, and discover it. So it's a metaphor. The fact that only this month is encoded in Scripture is a metaphor for what this month is, reflective of the nature of the month. Am I clear? As we pointed out, that the name Elul is not a scriptural name. It's a name, arguably not even Hebrew, but it's a name that the Jews composed much later in our history. When they came back from the exile in Babylon. Till then, the months were just simply called by numbers. In Scripture, it's month 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12. Nisan being the first month. Names of the month come later, composed by Jews, but all by divine providence. The names that they gave for the months are divinely inspired names, as we just noted, and the month of Elul is encrypted throughout Scripture. One of the most famous allusions to be found in Scripture to the month of Elul is the following. Ani ledodi v'dodi li. It's from the Song of Songs, chapter 6, verse 3. It means, I am to my beloved is to me. Those 4 words, take the first letters of these 4 words, and it spells the word Elul. I'm going to hold up this paper here that you can all see, including our viewers. There are 5 verses here on this paper that all allude to the month of Elul. I'm referring to the second one, the most popular. You can see it right there. I'm to my beloved is to me. Furthermore, the end letters, you can look at it yourself, the end letters of each of the 4 words is a yud. The final letter of each of those 4 words is a yud. There are 4 words. Yud is a numerical value of 10. So that's 40. And you just heard what that 40 means. It's from Rosh Chodesh Elul till Yom Kippur. These 40 days of divine grace. Now the month of Elul, each one of the 12 months of the year has a constellation or a zodiac. The month of Elul, the Betula, which means young maiden or virgin, or by extension, the bride. And they're often, the reality is there are very often weddings in the month of Elul. Towards the end of the summer, just, your time is appropriate in terms of our scheduling, but spiritually too. It's a time of reconciliation with God, getting to know each other again, rediscovering the spark and the intimacy on a deeper level than ever before. So that's the month of Elul. I'd like this morning, or whenever you're watching this, dear friends, whatever time of day it is, to explore this Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. I'm to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. In particular, to look at the chuppah or the pre-chuppah ritual or custom, because this is precisely what is happening now. God is the groom, we are the bride, and we are reconnecting. We are reaffirming our marriage vows. That's what's happening now, culminating with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So let's focus our attention on a custom. The wedding ceremony is replete with custom that is widely observed by Jews, that happens before the actual chuppah. And that is the veiling of the bride, the badeken. She is veiled, and with this she comes to the chuppah, veiled. The veil, mind you, is supposed to be virtually opaque. Not always the case in practice, but that's what it is. So the simple question we're going to ask is this. Very simple, innocuous question. If there's a moment in a young woman's life that she does not want to be veiled, it would be under her chuppah. That's when she wants to see her chatan, the guests, and be seen. She's the most radiant and beautiful then. Why are we veiling her? There are many answers to that question. We'll begin with some simple answers, and then, God willing, a very profound and deep answer taken from the teachings of Chassidus, which is what we share at this class, in this class. One of the basic reasons for the veiling of the bride is this. Just before that, before he veils her, and mind you, there's the custom at that time where the parents bless her. It's a very powerful, poignant moment. The whole wedding ceremony and celebration is the badeken in Yiddish, as it's referred to. So, just before that, had been the signing of the Ketubah. The Ketubah is the marriage contract which outlines the responsibility, essentially, of a Jewish husband to his wife. More essentially, actually, it's financial protection for her. That's what it is. In the Ketubah, it is written, and two witnesses signed, that this agreement was undertaken, this obligation undertaken by the groom. He commits that if, God forbid, in case of his death or divorce, she's entitled to X amount of money. This is already determined in the Ashkenaz custom. It's the same silver weight that was used in Talmudic time. It's quite considerable in terms of the dollar value today. In the Sephardic world, they actually negotiate an amount in many communities. And she is entitled to this from even the shirt off his back, as it's written in the Ketubah. She is the first creditor that has title, that has claim to his estate, even to property that he sold after the wedding. It's on lien to her if, God forbid, he dies or there's divorce. So it's financial security. And the sages enacted this and went so far as to say that no man and woman should live together without her having a Ketubah. The sages were concerned with protecting her. This is a right that they granted her, but protecting her and assuring her security. That's the essence of the Ketubah. It's money. But the sages also added, since we're writing about his obligation, then they added to cherish and honor her and provide that which a Jewish husband is obligated by the Torah to provide. And the three obligations that a husband is obligated to provide his wife on her terms, not his, are to live together physically as husband and wife. And I stress this is on her terms, not his. It's her cycle. It's her desire, not his. Although as we said last week, it's his perhaps even obligation to seduce her. He should seduce his wife, but the decision is hers, always and forever. The second thing is to provide shelter and clothing and food, sustain her. So the Ketubah outlines his obligations to her, not her to him. She knows what she has to do. He's got to be told, and witnesses sign it. So one of the reasons, therefore, for veiling the bride is he wants to show his eagerness to honor his obligations. So right after the Ketubah is signed, again, it's not signed by either him or her, in parenthesis, no Jewish contract is signed by the parties themselves. It's the witnesses who sign that these two parties entered into this contract, in this case, the marriage contract. So it's signed, he wants to show his eagerness, he symbolically veils her, which is symbolic of providing her with clothing. So that's one meaning. There's a deeper meaning. The deeper meaning is he is saying that their connection goes beyond what the eye can see. It's a soul connection. We'll talk about this, we'll elaborate presently. And the third reason, in many ways the primary reason, is because on this day, actually this moment, from the moment of going to the chuppah and throughout the chuppah, the divine presence radiates through her eyes. And we, everybody else, is not worthy of gazing upon such pristine holiness. And so she's veiled. We find a precedent for that in the Torah, more than one, but one of the most obvious precedents is Moses himself. The Torah tells us when he came down from Mount Sinai, after having received the Torah, he had to veil himself. except when he actually taught them Torah. The people couldn't look at him. We're not that sensitive. Perhaps some of us are not that sensitive to see this in a color, but that's what's happening. And so she's veiled. So there are all these reasons and more that the color is veiled. But as mentioned, I want to share with you a deeper reason taken from the teachings of, or based on the teachings of Hasidus. And again, going back to our question, why is she veiled at this moment when surely she wants to see, look into her Chatan's eyes and him looking at her and be seen? So friends, this all points to the veiling is really the secret. It's the secret to the paradox and the mystery of marriage. Now, marriage is a mystery, as we don't tire of pointing out, because the whole notion of two people forever, romantic as it sounds, is hardly logical. Tastes change, we get older. I don't have to elaborate, So how is this going to work? And the problem is compounded by the fact that the person you marry has to be a stranger. Think about this for a moment. Let's think out of the box. If you're looking for a partner in life that you are to spend hopefully the rest of your life together, you're looking for likeness and sameness. When it comes to marriage, no. It's got to be someone unrelated. The closer that the person's related to you, the more it's forbidden. You can't marry your sibling. And to complicate matters, it has to be someone of the opposite gender. Forever. So how's this supposed to work? So let me start off with kind of dropping the bomb, the shocking statement about marriage that is kind of counterintuitive, and people hear this and they're aghast. What? But I'm going to say it anyway, and God willing, with God's help, we will explain this paradox. So here we go. Let's begin with the salvo, the opening salvo. Is that the word? The opening shot. The reason she's veiled is because they're saying under the chuppah, I could marry anybody. It doesn't have to be you. It could be anybody. She's covered. He's saying it and she's saying it. So why you? Because I'm committing. Marriage, I'm saying, friends, is first and foremost about commitment. It's not about falling in love. It's about a decision to commit. Now, if it's a decision to commit, you could commit to anybody within reason. Indeed. But it's you. Now let's explore that a little bit further. Let's really analyze this. Let's analyze marriage. So conventionally, it's not about commitment. It's about a decision based on evaluation. Why am I marrying you? Because we dated, I got to know you, and so on, and I've come to the conclusion, this is the way it works and should work, you fulfill my needs more than anybody else. We date, we go out, we experiment to one degree or another, and then we decide this one. It's not it could be anybody. I'm giving the counter argument. No, it's you, because I've explored other possibilities, other relationships, and you fit the bill for me. What does that mean? I enjoy you more. You fulfill my needs more than anybody else I've met. That's why a couple, this is true. I'm not going to change that, even as we conclude our discussion today. That's why you would marry this person. However, and by the way, let's just underscore this point. Halacha is you're not allowed to marry a person unless you met them before. Even in, way back when marriages were arranged and determined by parents, the final say, and therefore the only say, has to be boy and girl, and they can't meet under the chuppah for the first time. It's got to be their decision. You can't marry someone because someone told you to. But now I'm saying veiled, and now I'm saying, but it could be anybody. I'm contradicting myself, and I'm deliberately. I said it could be anybody, but then I said Allah says, no, it can't be anybody. You have to want this person. Why do you want this person? Because they fulfill me more than somebody else. But here's the big but. Any intelligent person knows that as much as this person fulfills me, in all likelihood, there's someone out there that does it better. Have I met every girl in the world? Has she met every guy in the world? In the city, even? And even if, right now, you're the only one, how could this possibly be arrived at? This conviction logically is impossible. But okay. As mentioned, you change, I change. We get older, our tastes change. The sense of humor I saw in you when we first met, I find corny today. Give me a break. I married you because you were young and beautiful. 25 years later, there are other people younger and more beautiful. I married you because you came from a rich family. I like that. I found out there are people that are richer, or the family lost its fortune. Things change. So what I'm saying is, if we want to be just objective and honest, this person is the best person in the world for you. There's no way you can know that. And moreover, logic says, no, there's someone else that the virtues you're looking for has it even better. So you must admit then that it's got to come down to a commitment. It's you. So here's the paradox. Let me kind of lay it all bare, put the pieces on the table, and then put it all together like hopefully a beautiful mosaic and a well-fitting jigsaw puzzle. Marriages are made in heaven. It's true. It's bashert, it's meant to be. The person you marry is your soulmate, your other half. Now, in parenthesis now, the discussion of divorce is an important discussion, and second marriages and soulmates, which we're not going to go into now. But that's also part of Torah. We can have more than one soulmate. In fact, we all do. It's all very relative, soulmates. It's relative. All Jews are soulmates. Families are soulmates. Friends are soulmates. And husband and wife are soulmates. So there's different levels of soulmate. But that's for another time. Getting back to just a classic model of marriage. So they are two halves of one soul. God finds his way of bringing us together. We can be at different ends of the world. By divine providence, he takes care of orchestrating events. Like I come personally from Melbourne. My wife is Canadian. How does this happen? It happened. And it happens. So here's the thing. On the one hand, you have, as I said, you have to date. And you meet this girl, and the truth is, in the ideal model, that's in the Torah world, it's really a wonderful system. It's as good as any system could be, because what happens is, before they go out, respective parents have done thorough research. whether or not it kind of makes sense from all kinds of perspectives, family, culture, and most importantly, the kind of girl and personality. They discuss this with their child before they've even seen each other. They kind of know that it makes sense, and then you go out to see whether it clicks or not. So in terms of the system, it's a pretty good system, and it works. The fact is that the marriage rate of singles is far higher in this system than anywhere else out there, by far, and the divorce rate is lower. Remembering divorce is a mitzvah. When it has to happen, it has to happen. Nobody should be compelled to be in a marriage that's painful. It's a mitzvah to separate, to cut the tie. I'm just saying, overall, it works. Because it makes sense. Before they've even gone out, there's all of this research. It's not left to kind of happenstance. They met somewhere. What do you know about this person that you met? And what first attracted you? There's so many other things. We carry so much baggage. So what about all of that? You only find out 10 years later. Here, there's research, and it's really intense research. Parents call up siblings. Well, they wouldn't say, but friends, teachers, from all perspectives, probing without, and being respectful, but still probing to get to what kind of person this is. And after all of this research, they go out. Yeah.
I'm listening to all this. It all makes sense, but I'm trying to not understand, but try to come to terms with. It's b'sher that you marry this person. It's also b'sher that you divorce this person.
That's true. But we're going to try and address all this. Okay. But the divorce thing I said is not for now. But that's also b'sher. That's true. As I said, more than one soulmate. You have to have one for this amount of years, someone else for another, or only X amount of years and no soulmate for the. This has to do with reincarnation, all kinds of complicated components that make up our journey, our sojourn on earth. It's not our subject today. So back again to the classic marriage. So there's a system, and it's a pretty good system. It's not infallible. Again, there may be somebody else out there and who fits the bill even better. Family is even better matched. The girl is even better. So at the end of the day, this is what happens. So they date, it makes sense. But he knows and she knows that logically there could be someone else, there could be. But divine providence has brought us together. Here's the key. It's why not. That's what it has to be. Why yes? Yeah, you got your reasons why yes. But the why yes, there are other yeses too. If it's why yes, that's the whole thing. I'm convinced you're the only one in the whole world. You're a fool. You know the whole world. How do you know? He's the kindest person I ever met. I promise you there are kinder people. She's the prettiest, funniest. There are prettier, there are funnier. This is, not even romantic. It's foolish language. I heard it the other night, under a chuppah. The kindest, most special. Very sorry. Kind? Yeah, kindest? No. There are kinder people. So there's no illusions that there's all the qualities I find in you, others, many people may have it even more so. However, by divine providence we met. I didn't meet all of those, and it's why not. That really is the essence. And then I commit. Commit in a way she's veiled, blinded to, looking beyond all your virtues. It isn't about your virtues anymore. It's about, we were brought together, I did my due diligence, it makes sense, why not? Of course there could possibly be others, and there will be. Certainly as we get, go through life, but it's not going to be them. It's going to be you. Because I commit. That key of commitment, what that opens up is the following. So let's get clear what we're saying now. So she's veiled, she's covered, because they're saying we understand that the foundation of marriage is a commitment to the other. Ani ledoidi, I am devoted to my beloved. A decision I make, and she makes, to commit absolutely and unconditionally forever. Now here's the promise. the sixth blessing, my friends, under the chuppah. There's 7 beautiful blessings. The sixth one goes like this. We bless bride and groom, that God bring you joy. Samach ta samach, I'll translate it. Samach ta samach reimu ahuvim. Double expression of joy. Be joy and be joyous. I'll actually explain the double expression. There's the joy till now, and the joy that comes after marriage, after chuppah. That's way beyond, as I will explain. Reim ahuvim, loving friends, kesamechacha, bride and groom, kesamechacha yitziracha began Eden mikedem. As your Creator brought you joy in the Garden of Eden. And that's referring to Adam and Eve. As God brought joy to Adam and Eve, so too may He bring joy to you. The question is, we don't live in the Garden of Eden. We don't live in paradise, so what kind of realistic blessing is this? Answer. Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava, had no doubt that they were meant for each other. Why not?
Nobody else.
There was nobody else. They understood. This wasn't a matter of faith and commitment. They understood that the only person to marry in the world, the only partner you can possibly have, is this one. So we say to bride and groom, if you commit to each other now, under the chuppah, surrendering to the divine providence that brought you together, you did your due diligence, you dated, everything, but you know that's not infallible. And you surrendered to in the end, so why this person in the end? Why not? We met, everything seems right, and you commit, and that commitment is blind. Then, in the course of your marriage, the love and the respect and the appreciation will ever deepen, so that you will be convinced intellectually, emotionally, physiologically that this is the only one and it could not be anybody else. You will understand this union. You will understand it and appreciate it. But it all is predicated on that moment of, at this point, it could be anybody. It just makes sense that you're the one, but it could be anybody. But we're brought here, we're under the chuppah, it's meant to be. I am yours forever. Ani ledoidi. I'm to my beloved. And then the promise is, if that's the foundation that each one says, V'dodi li, I will understand how this beloved is really mine. And it can't be anybody else on all of the levels of engagement. Conscious, meeting of mind, meeting of hearts, experiences together, sharing, and the conviction, intellectually, emotionally, every fiber of my conscious being will know and this truth and experience it, that it can't be anybody else. It just can't be. Nobody else fits. Only you do. And I see that and feel that and understand that. But that will only come if it's based on the faith that it's meant to be you. That only happens because of the ani ledodi. So let's look at this chuppah physically, friends. The chuppah hovers over them, the canopy. It means many things. It means their home. It means many things. But it also means the soul in heaven, where they are one before they were born. That's the truth of this union. Now, that's what hovers above them. That's kind of supra-conscious. Right now, so imagine us, we're looking at the chuppah. So we look at that chuppah and we're going, wow, soul reunion. Then we lower our gaze and we see bride and groom and she's covered. He doesn't even see her. She can't see him. Oh, they're committing in this way that says, could be someone else, but no, it's going to be you, and not based on ultimately all the things that I have seen in you. Because if that's all it is, then there are others out there. So it's beyond all of that. It's a transcendent, blind commitment at right now, absolute, unconditional, based on, why not? We're here. And then we listen to the chuppah ceremony and we hear the blessing like Adam and Eve. they're destined, with God's help, to discover and experience each other such that they will feel on every level of consciousness, body and soul, that it could not be anybody else. And that the two halves of one soul will radiate and permeate their conscious physical relationship. So 3 parts then. Before birth, 1, the moment of decision under the chuppah, super rationale, beyond calculation, ultimately, because we recognize the limits of our calculated process. And that then leads to, in the end, a calculated and understood and experienced union. Fully. Nobody else could. I see and stand and feel. Nobody appeals to me. No one can fulfill me like you. Something that we actually experience, not just on faith, but like Adam and Eve, we really experience it. That is a sacred, successful marriage. The key, of course, being this faith in it, this surrender, that must forever remain the foundation of the relationship. Because we're human, and along the road to this self-discovery of each other, there's going to be constant challenges. We don't live in paradise. And there are temptations and challenges and frustrations. And the mind will say, why did I do this? What was I thinking when I saw this virtue or the other? That was important to me. Why didn't I notice this, that, or the other? The moment of the chuppah reminds us, no, it goes beyond that. She's covered. Commit beyond rationale. With that foundation, all of the frictions will be resolved, and the frictions actually will turn into sparks of passion and love. That's what's going to happen to them. And that leads us to another discussion, but not for now, how the mikveh and separation are coming to get together throughout their marriage. Certainly in the early years or the decades of their marriage, they're strangers, they come together, strangers coming together, because that's the paradox of marriage. And mikveh nurtures that reality, that truth, that honest understanding. But what will bring them together despite the distance is that moment under the chuppah of absolute, always commitment, no matter what you say, do, or look like, or don't. She's veiled. And there is ani l'dodi, I am to my beloved. And quite the same, friends, is in our relationship with God. This is the month of Elul. This is the month of renewal of our relationship with God, which has its challenges, its ups and downs, its distractions, its temptations. Not easy to be, faithful. But in the month of Elul, we renew the ani l'dodi. We renew this deep faith. I'm Jewish. I'm a part of you. My soul's a part of you. God, is our ultimate soulmate in the deepest way. I'm a part of you. And I commit to you. And in that commitment, the frictions, the challenges, the distance, the hurt, the pain is resolved, overcome, and moreover become the vehicle for deeper connection. That's the whole story here. The golden calf, which was the betrayal, is followed by the teshuvah and the deeper connection that comes later, culminating in Yom Kippur. The whole process of it is the month of Elul, the month of the rediscovery of innocence. It's the month of the virgin, of the bride, the rediscovery of that place where we always were one. We always were. Except we got sidetracked, side-blinded, we got disconnected externally. So in the same way that in marriage, there is the inevitable distance on occasion, hurt, betrayal. But if there is the foundation, and the foundation is the veiled love, then on the contrary, the distance and the hurt become the very fuel for an even deepening appreciation and deeper connection. Through digging even deeper to the core, uncovering the core and embracing the core of husband and wife union that is rooted essentially in a deep oneness of the soul. So the same is true with God. Elul is the time to renew our connection. It's the time to re-embrace that commitment. And in so doing, where we have failed and where we have distanced ourselves, where we had convinced ourselves or been deluded that we would find fulfillment in anything other than in a relationship with Him, that very distance becomes the fuel and the means by which to forge an ever deeper connection. And now we come to realize that the true me, and the deepest part of me, is Ani is Ledodi, is a part of Him, and therefore, in commitment to God, do I fulfill and complete myself. And the promise is that as difficult and challenging as sometimes the demands of a marriage with God are, responsibilities, obligations, commandments, prohibitions, all of them in the end, through effort and through the inevitable ups and downs, are experienced as the most fulfilling expression. Rather than a whole set of obligations, they are liberating. They fulfill me, for they attach me with every fiber of my being, every commandment, every prohibition addressing a different aspect of my both physical and spiritual and physiological and psychological makeup. Each mitzvah connects me to my other half, my soulmate, and my God. Thanks for listening.